On July 20th, 2012, James Holmes went into the Aurora Movie Theater during the Dark Knight Rises Batman movie was showing a movie, and he went in there and shot up the whole movie theater. He eventually killed 12 people and injured more than 70. He eventually confessed to booby-trapping his apartment, where it probably could have killed potentially 100 more. I think in his mind he thought that no one cares about me, no one cares about what I'm going to do, so I might as well do it. James was only 24 years old when he committed the mass shooting at the theater. His birthday is in December, and so he actually was only 24 years old when he committed the shootings. He was born December 13th, 1987. There's a lot of background to James Holmes, and it's going to be hard to tell you guys every single thing about him that I've read online, but I'll try to give you guys kind of the more important information that I found, just to kind of give you a background into him and, of course, kind of what led up to the shooting. So James Holmes exhibited mental health illness starting around 11 years old. He actually attempted suicide when he was about 11 years old, and he already kind of had a need for psychiatric help starting at a pretty young age. In June 2011, James Holmes enrolled in the University of Colorado here in Aurora in the neuroscience program as a PhD student. So it sounded like his goal potentially was to get his PhD in neuroscience. But as we all know, that never panned out. In 2012, James hadn't been at the university for that long, but his academic performance was really declining. And the university stated they weren't going to drop him, but they were obviously concerned about his grades. And after James failed a pretty important test, he actually ended up dropping out himself. So before the whole massacre happened, James sought help through 3 different mental health professionals, trying to help him with his homicidal thoughts that he's been having. And one of the mental health professionals declined to put him in a hospital because of it, stating that they thought doing so would actually make everything a lot worse. James actually texted one of his fellow students telling him to stay away from him because he was apparently bad news, and he should stay away from James. So there were obviously all these signs kind of leading up to the massacre. On July 19th, only a few hours before the massacre happened, he actually ended up mailing his psychiatrist a package of all of his notes. Unfortunately, his package ended up in the mail room and actually never got to his psychiatrist. So again, you wonder if his package actually got to his psychiatrist, would it have helped? Would it have stopped it? I would have liked to think so. That's just my personal opinion. Unfortunately, James' cry for help continued. Only a mere hour or so before the shooting, he actually ended up calling one of the crisis hotlines several times, but no one picked up. The last time he tried calling, it got disconnected after about 9 seconds or so. And after James got arrested, he stated that he was trying his best to seek help to get him to stop him before he started the shooting. So he admitted that if someone answered the phone, it was more than likely that he probably wouldn't have gone through with the shooting. So James was definitely infatuated with Batman, and of course anything related to Batman, and that kind of prompted him to kind of want to be the Joker. And as you probably have seen many of his arrest pictures or his pictures when he was in court, he had like bright orange curly hair, as he kind of deemed himself the Joker. And that is why on July 20th, 2012, he went to the midnight showing of one of the Batman movies that was coming out. So on July 20th, 2012, James Holmes showed up here at the Century 16 Theater here in Aurora, Colorado. He showed up just after midnight as he was attempting to get here when the midnight showing of The Dark Knight Rises happened. What he did though was he knew that this theater had some back doors that led to each theater, and he knew that he was able to prop them open, and so that is what he did. So he went to the back, propped open one of the doors to the number 9 theater, got all of his weapons out of his car, went back in, threw some different smoke grenades and other things inside to kind of create pandemonium, and then started shooting. After everything was said and done, James Holmes killed 12 people while injuring about 70. It's actually a shock that not more than 12 people died, due to the fact that it was a very enclosed, tight space, as you can imagine, in a movie theater. The shooting began at 12:38 a.m. and, like I mentioned, only lasted about 7 minutes, so it ended at 12:45 a.m. But the first 911 call was only a minute after the shooting. As you can imagine, everyone and their brother has cell phones these days, so someone called in to 911 a minute after the shooting began. The police responded in about 90 seconds, which, to be honest, is pretty good. I definitely wanted to mention the names and ages of the victims in this shooting, because again, they're the ones that need to be remembered in this. Jonathan Blanc, 26 years old. Alexander Boyk, 18 years old. Jesse Childress, 29 years old. Gordon Cowden, 51 years old. Jessica Gowie, 24 years old. John Laramere, 27 years old. Michaela Medic, 23 years old. Alex Sullivan, 27 years old. Alexander Tavis, 24 years old. Rebecca Wingo, 31 years old. And Veronica Moser, 6 years old. Honestly, that one hits me the most. A young kid does not deserve that. I mean, no one deserves that, but especially a young kid like that. They literally just started their lives. If I forgot to mention, James Holmes had enough ammunition to basically take out the entire theater. Like, not just the one screen with all the people inside, but like all the screens they had here. He had over 700 bullets with him. So the fact that he only killed 12, like I mentioned, is basically a miracle. I mean, whatever you want to call it, it truly is. I mean, that's not as many people as you would guess, considering how much he shot and how many bullets he had with him. Yeah, guys, I'll insert a picture of his car parked here in the parking lot, and I basically parked where he parked. The picture is like a little more zoomed in, but it's the same spot that he parked. Man, that's so eerie. So he parked his white car where I just parked my car. Trying to figure out which door would have led to theater number 9 on the back side. Again, they're not like marked. So guys, after a lot of research here on my phone, I finally found where theater 9 is, and it makes complete sense why he parked here, is because the theater, like I mentioned, is right here. So here's theater 9. So as you can tell, he parked his car right here, like I mentioned. That is theater 9. So of course, guys, it was easy for him to go in, prop open this door here, and then walk, you know, not even like 30 feet to get his rifles and pistols out and then go back in. As you can tell, there's no doorknob on these doors, so of course my guess is he didn't open it from the outside. He went in through the main entrance purchasing a ticket, I believe, or somehow getting in. And then, of course, once he got in, went down to the door here, propped it open, and then went back in. So when James Holmes was finally arrested at the movie theater after the shooting, he declared to the police that were there that he rigged his apartment with tons and tons of bombs with nails in them and a whole bunch of other stuff, so that when the police would have arrived at his apartment, they would have been taken out by this crazy big explosion. Now, part of me wonders, if he set all that up, why did he end up telling the police beforehand? Like, wouldn't he have wanted them to find it and, of course, you know, be hurt or killed? Like, that to me doesn't make any sense. So from what I've read, James Holmes had about 30 grenades in the apartment hooked up ready to blow, and also about 10 gallons of gasoline, all hooked up, different like nail bombs and stuff like that also. So he really was attempting to put one of the biggest, basically, bombs to blow up any first responders that were probably going to show up. But either way, his apartment was somewhere in that building right there behind me. It's just crazy to think what could have happened had James Holmes not come to some sort of come to Jesus moment, or whatever you want to call it. I mean, yes, he still killed 12 people in the theater, but it could have been a lot worse. And speaking of that, a downstairs neighbor, a girl named Caitlin, who was 20 years old, heard loud music coming from James' apartment. So when he left to go to the theater, he left really, really loud music on. But she went to the apartment because it was super loud late at night. She knocked on the door, no one answered. But she tried the doorknob and it was unlocked. She almost opened the door, but then realized that this seemed kind of sketchy, so she didn't, thankfully. If she did, it probably would have triggered the entire bomb system, and she, along with basically the entire apartment complex, would have been just, unfortunately, wiped out. I mean, to be real. James Holmes received 12 life sentences in prison, but it gets crazier. He actually also received over 3,318 additional years on top of the 12 life sentences. So if you add all those up, he's not getting out ever. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed another episode of Infamous. Again, as always, remember the victims in this case. So definitely, if you're new around here, subscribe, hit the little bell icon so you don't miss an episode of me filming these crazy events that have happened around the country. And until next time, guys, my name's Harmon, and I'll see you guys on the next Infamous case.